Hello, this is Dora Tarver from CreateAndManageSchedules.com, and in this video coaching session we're going to focus on baselining your project schedule. We're going to look at how to set up a baseline and how to manage the input of progress and delays in your baseline schedule. So, once your project schedule is set up, you have a project schedule, you've entered all of your tasks, your resources are leveled, and you'll want to be able to see what you planned and how well you actually do against what you planned. So the first step is, after you've created your schedule and you've leveled your resources, is we're going to actually change the view. Right now we're in the Gantt chart view, and there are two ways to do it. You can go to View and you can select Tracking Gantt from here, or you can go to the view bar and select Tracking Gantt as well. So when you select Tracking Gantt, then your view will change. And notice that it appears very similar to the Gantt view. See, again, here's the Gantt view, and here's the Tracking Gantt view. They appear very similar when you first look at them. But let's take a closer look at how they're different. What's different in the Tracking Gantt, first of all, is the Gantt bars, you'll notice, are a little thinner. Also, you'll see a percent complete to the right of each bar. Okay, and in this example you see these percent completes read 0 because the schedule here reads 0 because the project hasn't started. Now, one of the things I like to do is, when my project does start, let's just say, let's mark this for 100% and let's mark this 50%. Okay, now what I did, you can see this turn green, and that's because I set the task progress bar to green. And how you can do that in your schedule is, when you right click in the back of the Gantt chart, you can select bar styles, and when bar styles opens up, you'll see the bar style names, and one of them is task progress. By default, task progress will be blue, but you can be creative. I like mine to be green because it stands out. When you select that, it changes the task progress to green. And one of the features of this view is it shows the task progress, and it's graphically you can see how much of your task is complete. And notice now that the percentage complete at the end of this task also says 50%. Okay? Now let's undo this because we want to baseline our schedule. Make this 0% as well. Okay? Now, to actually baseline the schedule, what you'll do is you go to the Tools menu option and select Tracking, and then select Set Baseline. And when this comes up, you'll see on the Set Baseline dialog box, we're going to accept the default settings where we will be baselining the entire project schedule, and we're not doing anything else but setting the first baseline. So we go ahead and click on OK, and this project schedule has now been baselined. And you'll also notice in the Gantt chart over here that we have a second bar under the task bar, which is the baseline bar. Okay, and when you move your mouse over it, you can see it says baseline as opposed to the task above it. Now, if you want to see the baseline data, you can go to the menu item View, select Table Entry, select More Tables, and make sure the Tasks radio button is selected for tables. And then you'll select Baseline and click on Apply. And this will show you what the baseline data currently is. Alright, so this shows our baseline start, baseline finish, baseline duration, baseline work, baseline cost. I didn't have cost defined in the schedule, but if I did, I would see that here. So the data that we see here is the primary reference point against which we will measure the changes in our project schedule. So this is a snapshot of today and now, and any changes in our schedule will be measured against this snapshot. Now let's go back and reset the table entry view back to entry views. So I go to view, I select table entry. Let's see, where is it? Oh, I select table baseline. Actually, that's what we're in now, and I'm going to change it to entry. And now we're back to our regular view. So there are many ways to track progress in your schedule, and we're going to have a look at what's available. First, though, we have to create a false situation so that we can observe the effects of the progress. And let's say that this project is planning to start on June 7th. But let's suppose the first week has gone by and some work has been done. So let's change the start to 100% and let's make this task 25%. Okay, so some work has been done here. Now let's say we want to set the current date to Monday, June 14th, which is one week later from the start date, if that's the scenario that we're in. What we do is we go to the menu item Project and select Project Information, and then we can enter June 7th in the current date field. So let's go ahead and click on the drop down list box here, and we're going to select a new date here, and we're going to enter June 7th in the current date field. So the current date assumes the default point in time of 0800 hours, 8 a.m. And the status date, let's say it takes time to get progress information to us, and the status date setting allows us to enter the date and time when the data is actually valid. So we could use that to select a status date, and we'll say we'll set our status date to June 14th. And the project start date, the project is delayed. It didn't start on June 7th. Let's say it was delayed and it started on June 9th, on Wednesday, June 9th. So we can change that. Then we can feed this change to our schedule by selecting the begin milestone task and click on the update task from the toolbar. So what we'll do is we'll close this dialog box. We've set our start date, our current date, and our status date, and we'll move the tasks. That's fine. And so our project is supposed to start on June 7th, and in this scenario, let's say it hasn't started. So we select the task that we want to update, and we go to the Tools menu option, select Tracking, and then select Update Tasks. And you can see here the actual start and finish and the current start and finish. So we can see we had planned for it to start on the 7th, but let's say it starts on Wednesday the 9th. Okay, and so we changed that, and this is our new delayed date, and we click on OK. Now notice the effect of that delayed date. It shifted the task over, and you can see the baseline still remains the same, but the date for the task has moved over, and everything in our schedule has shifted. You can see it graphically in the Gantt chart. However, because we did have slack for our completion of the project, meaning the last task here is ending on August 9th, so really this project ends on August 9th or 10th. Oops, I'm sorry. Let me undo that. Give me one moment here. So this project ends on the 9th, but our completion milestone shows the 20th. Okay, so that means there's slack in the schedule. So that's why this has not shifted. But if it did, you'd see another diamond with the new project end date. Now let's assume that the first week we've been progressing and let's mark this 100%. So we started and we're making progress. Okay. Now we could use the same update tasks dialog box, but let's do it a different way. If you go to your toolbar and right click and select tracking, the tracking toolbar appears, which is right here. And another way to update your progress is by using the tracking bar and selecting what you need from here. So let's say we select this task and maybe now it's 75%. And let's say we have other tasks down here that have also started. We'll make this one 25% and so on. So you can use this to help you quickly update your schedule. And you'll see the changes of your updates on your Gantt chart. Notice that the bar begins to fill in, indicating progress, and the percent complete changes as well. Now let's suppose this task is done and this one is supposed to start, and let's pretend that today is June 23rd. So this is supposed to start on the 22nd. It's delayed. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the start date and keep the link to the predecessor so that, if the predecessor runs out even more, we'll see that change. So what we'll do is we'll come here, we'll change the start date to the 23rd. It'll prompt us to keep the link. We want to keep it because if the predecessor moves out even further, we want to be able to see the impact of that change in our schedule. Okay, so I just changed this to the 23rd and it had a cascading effect on all these other tasks, and you might have noticed the Gantt chart moved out even further. So you can see the baseline date was originally here, and now the task is over here. Also notice that in the information column, this particular task now says that this task has a start no earlier than constraint. So a new constraint has been added because this has moved out. Okay, so there we have looked at how to set up a baseline. We've looked at inputting progress and delays and observe the effect on the tracking Gantt chart. So what I want you to do is take a look at the homework below and prepare yourself for our next lesson, which will build on this information. Have an excellent day.